How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and Merry Christmas. I mean, it's Christmas Eve, so I suppose I can say that now. But yeah, I hope you're all ready for Christmas if you celebrate it. If you don't celebrate it, have a Merry Monday. And I hope everybody's ready and prepared and everything like that. So, there you go, Christmas stuff out of the way, have a good one. But what we're going to talk about is something weird that's happened over the last few days. And it's definitely something that could make a few suggestions towards the future of Final Fantasy VII Remake's project. And that is the fact that Advent Children is going to be back in theatres for a little bit. Yeah, Advent Children. Weird, eh? And we'll get into why that's weird in a second, but make sure that you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure that you're following the channel because we're going to keep on going. There's going to be loads of content coming over the next few months as we get closer and closer to Rebirth. So yeah, don't miss out. Think of it as like a little Christmas present to me, a little subscription and a like. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's crack on with this. Let's talk about why things are a little bit weird. So, the first thing that we'll talk about is what's actually happened. And the first wave of this came when we found out that Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, the 4K remastered version, will be screened for a limited time in January 2024. It'll be 2 weeks at Shinjuku Piccadilly in Japan, and other movie theatres across the country. So it's not just one specific location, it's going to be across Japan. And at first, that kind of left me a little bit like, huh, interesting. And then, quite quickly following that, we started to see an announcement for America. So, February the 21st, 2024, in certain cinemas across the United States, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, the 4K edition, will be showing in movie theatres. We've not got anything for Europe yet as far as I can see, which, you know, thanks. But I kind of feel like there might be an announcement coming at some point. Like, it'd be a bit weird if they just did it in Japan and America. So, yeah, I would expect that we're going to see Advent Children screenings possibly in select cinemas across Europe as well. And this might seem like nothing. This might honestly seem like nothing to you. But then, you want to think back to summer 2022, I believe it was July-ish. Yeah, June, July-ish. And Yoshinori Kitase and Tetsuya Nomura were given an interview regarding the Final Fantasy VII Remake project and Crisis Core Reunion, which I believe had just recently been announced. And the interviewers were asking, like, how come we've decided to do Crisis Core? And they were saying about how, you know, it showcases Zack, and Zack's going to be a much more important character in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Therefore, you getting to know Zack is a good thing, and it'll help and extra, you know, all that sort of good stuff. Which made sense. That made sense completely. And at one point in the interview, towards the latter stages of it, they're asked, would you be remaking some of the other spin-off titles, such as Before Crisis and Dirge of Cerberus? And Nomura says, in the case of Dirge of Cerberus, the story takes place years after the main story. So I think there would be confusion in the story if we were to remake Dirge of Cerberus before the project was complete. I'm just going to let that hover in the air for a second. Just going to think about that for a second. Yeah. I'm hoping you're all in the same place I am. Because if we can't do Dirge of Cerberus because it would be a spoiler, and it would mess the story up of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the remake project going forwards, how can we show Advent Children and make a big deal about it? Now, I get what you're going to say to me, but Sector, they're not remaking it, they're just re-releasing it, they're just showing it, and yeah, you are correct, they're not remaking it, they're not remastering it. I feel like that's probably because, like, there is no further remastering to be done of Advent Children Complete. Like, they either remake it or that's it. Like, I don't think it goes any further than it already has, so there's no way that they could remaster it. Remaking it would be a hell of a lot of effort, and maybe they will at some point, but at the minute, no, a hell of a lot of effort. So that explains why I wouldn't expect a remaster of it at all, because we're pretty much at the end of the remasters, there's nothing else to be done, I don't think. So all they could do is remake it, and again, that's going to be a lot of effort, so I can see why there isn't that. It's just weird that they're making it available to see in theatres just before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth drops. Especially given the fact that, you know, they're not going to do Dirge of Cerberus because that'd be a spoiler for what happens in Final Fantasy VII Remake. But that's what Advent Children is. So, I'm not too sure what the deal is here. I'm not too sure what this is supposed to suggest. There has been a lot of debate recently over whether or not Final Fantasy VII Remake project is a sequel, or is it actually a remake, or is it both? There's been a lot of that talk recently with the revelation that Final Fantasy VII Remake as a project will add up to Advent Children. It will link up to Advent Children. That's what was said again by the devs. And one of the thoughts that I've had recently has been that it might link up to Advent Children, but maybe not in the same way. Maybe something else will link it to Advent Children. And a lot of us have been thinking for a while that this future Sephiroth is like an Advent Children Sephiroth, post-Advent Children Sephiroth. So maybe if that ends up being the case, that is Final Fantasy VII Remake linking up to Advent Children, just in a manner that we didn't expect. And there could be numerous other caveats and ways that that happens. Just to assume that the remake project leads into Advent Children as normal, that's not necessarily what they've said there. And now they announced that Advent Children is going to be shown at various theatres, giving plenty of people the opportunity to see it who may not have necessarily seen it, because they want people to know what happens in Advent Children before Rebirth. That's the only thing that I can take from this. Because, like, Advent Children Complete 4K has been a thing for a while. It's not new. So it's not them doing this because Advent Children Complete is new and they want to push that product. I mean, obviously they're going to want to push the product at the same time, but that's not the reason. And the reason can only be the same thing as with Crisis Core Reunion, and the same thing as with the first Soldier section of Ever Crisis. Both of those things are going to be relevant and important in Rebirth. Both of those things. And going off that logic, Advent Children is clearly going to be important to the plot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And let's be honest, there are a lot of different ways that Advent Children's plot could be important to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's plot. It could be various things. It could be to do with like remnants and things like that, you know, with Lodge, Yuzu and Kadaj. Could we see something similar to that going on? Or could that be used as an explanation maybe for some of the duplicates of people that we're seeing? I don't know. It's possible. I kind of feel like another possibility is Geostigma. We have seen that the innkeeper in Karma, can't remember his name, but he's been suffering from some mystery illness recently. We do see like the whole visual symbology of like the negative life stream and things like that at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So are we seeing Geostigma coming about early? Because that would intrinsically link the narrative of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with Advent Children, because Geostigma is one of the primary things that happens in Advent Children. So it could literally be as simple as that. It could literally just be that Geostigma is a thing and they want people to watch Advent Children and therefore understand what Geostigma is. It sounds like that might be a little bit too flimsy of a reason, but like I say, there's so many different possible reasons that could link Advent Children to the plot of Rebirth. It could be as simple as we need to know what happens to Sephiroth in Advent Children in order to inform us as to his motives for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like I say, it could go in so many different directions, and I would like you to get involved in the comments and let me know what direction you think it could go. Even if you don't agree that this is something that could be happening, that Advent Children is going to be linked into Rebirth, you know, even if you don't think that's going to be the case, have some fun, speculate. What ways could the two connect? Because I think it's interesting. It's very interesting, the fact that this has just kind of come out of nowhere. Advent Children, go watch it in theatres. It just feels sus. It just feels sus to me. Let me know if you're feeling that it's a bit sus. But if this is the case, that means, like I was saying before, we've got Crisis Core Reunion, which is its story is gonna heavily tie into Rebirth because of Zack. We've got whatever's going on in Ever Crisis in the first Soldier, because we've got the whole Glenn and Sephiroth dynamic, and then we've got that hooded figure that we've seen in a trailer that people are speculating could be Glenn. So that could be a correlation and a tie-in there. And now we've got Advent Children that we've got to keep an eye on and watch for any tie-ins or conclusions or anything. I mean, could we rule out the possibility that they add something extra to this version of Advent Children? Like, surely not. Surely there's nothing they can sneak in. Maybe a post-credit scene, like a new scene, I don't know. Surely not, though. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But, like I say, let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. How do you think Advent Children could be tied into Rebirth? How do you think that could happen? leave a like on the video, give me that Christmas present, subscribe to the channel, don't miss out on the future Final Fantasy VII Rebirth news and various other games and things like that. We're going to be doing many things in the new year. But more importantly than all that, have a great Christmas and have a great day.